What's up, guys, and welcome to Cry About It, arguably the best podcast in the world. This week, we are joined by John McKelvey from the Rumjacks, and we're going to jump right into the interview with him, but real quick, some business stuff. This week's episode is brought to you by HMAC, the Harrisburg Midtown Arts Center. Get your tickets now, harrisburgarts.com. John, thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome, man. Thank you very much for having me, mate. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
And I think this is we've done a couple Canadian interviews, but this is our first interview as international. I think the email said in Belfast right now.
I'm in Belfast, Northern Ireland right now, yeah. So the band is spread around over, there's 5 of us in 5 different countries, put it that way, but I'm based here, yeah.
So I had that down to talk about later, but that's a good intro into it. You guys are, at this point, a pretty international band, right? Everybody's kind of spread out.
Yeah, so about 4 or so years ago, we made the decision to leave Australia and head kind of closer to Europe at that stage. That's where we were getting most attention and a bit more kind of buzz was happening around there. And we realized Australia is a great country and whatnot, a big country, very hard to tour, you know. Mm-hmm. From major city to major city is a 13-hour drive, you know, just to go between 2 cities, for example. But so we moved, about 4 or 5 years ago, and then we kind of spread around in the last few years. We all kind of settled in different countries, but I've always remained here in Belfast, where my family are from. So it was kind of the easier decision to make.
So you're originally from Belfast, then? My
family are. So all my family are from here. I was born in Australia.
Okay.
And then I did all my school and whatnot there. We always came back growing up and whatnot. And there was a small period when I was very, very young. We stayed here for a few years, but I was raised in Australia. Yeah, but all my family are from here.
That probably presents some pretty interesting logistics for a band then. Like, I'm sure practice isn't as easy and everything like that, right?
It's challenging. It definitely gives our manager a headache, that's for sure. But for us, we're fine with it. We all live where we want to live. But look, the power of technology. Let's say, you know, where I would have interviews on the other side of the world right now, and writing music and practicing and all that kind of stuff we can do remotely. You know, it's a good thing. You know, it gives us our freedom, and we can happily live where we want to, and not live in a share house squat and live on top of each other every day just to be able to rehearse once a week.
Right.
But look, the songs are written. If they're written and recorded, then you should know the songs. If you don't, just practice them at home. We are lucky with regards to writing and demoing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, we've all got our little bits and bobs and technology to be able to share ideas, and that's fine. But we ultimately always meet in one place together well before a tour or well before recording, and get things kind of in place before it hits the road or before we actually step into the studio. So yeah, we might live far apart, but we still meet in the same place before we've got to do anything really.
So you guys, I mean, fall into the broader sense of it, like the Celtic rock, right? It's kind of the lane you guys take. Although I definitely would consider you just a punk rock, a hard rock band at this point, right? That's kind of where you guys came up and cut your teeth. Does everybody have a little bit of Irish heritage somewhere, or is it just the music that everybody gravitated towards?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said before, my folks are from here, and Adam's family are all from there as well too. Mike, he's a Bostonian, and his family, come through like Irish roots, Celtic roots, all that kind of stuff. But I guess the band starting in Australia as well too. Australia's a kind of a funny country in that, like, and I say respectfully, white Australia in regards to respect to the Indigenous people of Australia who were there first. When white Australia came, that were English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, all that, and European settlement in Australia. That music was brought over, so there's no lack of, I guess, Celtic music, but broadly folk music of any country. It's there quite heavily, so it's not like you're on the other side of the planet with this ignorance or kind of like shut off to the world of music. It's actually all there because so many people immigrated and moved there, so I, despite some very upsetting things, I guess, in regards to that. But yeah, you're exposed to lots of music, and it's there everywhere you want to be. And, so Irish music, folk music, Celtic music is very much there, and members of the band were obviously raised on it, but it's not, you don't have to look far to find it, but like it's all right there, you know.
I find this as kind of an interesting lane of conversation to go, because I'm from the Northeast in America, the northeastern half, and specifically Scranton, Pennsylvania, which was a big immigrant, Irish immigrant, family off the boat, everything. I've been to Ireland, and it always makes me laugh. Over here, we're very attached to our heritage, and it's like, I'm Irish, right? And you go and there's like, you're not Irish, you're American with Irish descent or whatever. In Australia, is there identification to heritage like that? Like, so I would be like an Irish American. Like, is it like I'm an Irish Australian, or is it in other parts of the world not as prominent?
I wouldn't say as strongly as it is in the States. For reasons I guess I can't compare. Like, I understand that as well too. Like, America was America before white people got there, you know. Australia was there before white people got there, you know. So your identification, I guess, is a blurred line on where people stand on that kind of a stuff. But yeah, I would say this in Australia, not as heavily as the States. You know, no one really says the words "I'm Irish Australian" or whatever. Right. You know, like I have my parents are from here, like in Belfast, Northern Ireland. I have an Australian accent. We went to school in Australia. To me, I'm Australian. You know, in regards to that, but you know. I guess everyone's different, but it's definitely, I'd say Australia is different than the States in regards to identification of heritage and identity, if you will. You know, I am Irish American, or I am Australian, like Irish Australian. Not so much. It's not really thrown around as much in Australia, I guess.
The music, though, like you said, Celtic folk music is prominent there, and that's like, I was kind of raised on that by like grandparents, so I identify to it, and I've always felt like a strong connection to it, be it flogging Molly, driving whatever. And then I recently, so I have a 19-month-old, and when I find myself like rocking them to sleep or whatever, like really the IRA like battle hymns and stuff, or what, like he like soothed them for whatever. So I've always found that interesting, how that music transcends.
Yeah, I also think like folk music or Celtic music or whatever, like it's pretty listenable music. Like if you strip it right back, like, you know, it's beautiful music. It's you know, whether it's between drinking and this and that kind of side of music and all that kind of like diddly-dee things, and versus, you know, songs of like sorrow and love and, you know, and war and whatever. Like, there's these real sway in regards to music and whatnot, but it's all incredibly beautiful music and very listenable and whatnot. That's why I never thought, when we've been asked this before, I don't think there's ever that. I personally don't think it's that strange of a combination where punk rock kind of adapted that as well too. Fantastic storytelling, whether it's about having a party and getting wild, or something a bit more serious, you know. I've always seen why, so I should say, that punk rock, or that attitude, or that kind of you know, outlook or kind of sound of music made its way there probably pretty naturally, you know what I mean? I would say the same as well too for like psychobilly or rockabilly, and you know, it's all very listenable. You go back to like bluegrass and country and, you know, and folk, and like it's all very listenable and very easy music. Speed it up a whole ton, and people are going to just dance a bit faster, you know. Like, I don't know. That's just me.
I completely agree. I've always thought it was like such a perfect marriage of those two. A natural evolution, maybe, like you would say, but I definitely think I definitely think it's great. So I want to go back a little bit, because I think maybe some of my listeners, if they're not familiar with the band, an Irish pub song, right? That's kind of how you guys really blew up, right?
The gateway drug, the gateway drug to the Rumjacks. What a song! Like, that was never. Ironically, it's a song about like whether, again, yourself or your listeners know as well too, like kind of a bit of a piss take on the explosion of Irish pubs around the world, and they're on every corner in every city and every country in the entire planet, you know, in the most weird places. Which, when you actually read some of the comments on YouTube, it kind of it goes over the head when they just see Irish pub song.
Right.
But that's fine, whatever. Take it for whatever you want. That's up to them. But yes, that was completely unintentional in regards to, we didn't, I guess back then as well too, when you're like writing songs or playing songs, recording songs, playing gigs, whatever, you're like, all right, that's what song is going to do well on the internet. Like, what's YouTube? You just kind of, like back then as well too, like 12 years ago, you're like, oh, you kind of click them out, I guess. That's what you do. Completely oblivious to it, to be honest. Maybe it was just me. I can't speak for everyone. But yeah, and then it was like, right, okay, well, people are really listening to this. And then, yeah, it kind of blew up. And yeah, Irish pub song, yeah, the gateway drug to, I guess, the Rumjacks. No complaints. Absolutely no complaints. Like, it is what it is. Like, we're very glad. And if people started on that song, then discovered everything else, it's fine by me. It's fine by me.
So that was, I think, maybe my first couple years of having you in the conscious was I knew that song. 2010 probably, right? Like right in that area.
That sounds about 2009 or 2010. Yeah. No, 2010. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
So it was like I was just getting out of college, and I remember like being on like a campus computer listening to YouTube, and that song came on, and I think St. Patrick's Day was coming up or whatever, and listening to it. But then I remember really listening to it. It's like a kind of an ironic take on the different kinds of Irish pubs, right? I always I appreciate it.
It's a piss take. It's a piss take.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But then dove deeper into the band, and I've been following you guys since. And for anybody that, if you like the Dropkick Murphys, if you like the Pogues, I read a review recently where somebody said for fans of the Dropkick Murphys and the Pogues, neither of those bands has ever put out as complete of an album as your new album.
And I think Kerrang wrote that one. Yeah, it was really nice actually.
And I thought that was like, after listening to the album, I thought that was like a very accurate description of it, because I think it's a very solid album, and it's not just like people like throw on like Shipping Up to Boston or whatever it may be as like, you know, it's the occasional song or the drinking song or whatever. But and I think a bunch of those bands get lost in that. You don't need to be specifically a Celtic rock fan to appreciate the album that came out. I just think it's a solid piece of work.
It's been really amazing to kind of get the feedback as well too. Like, you get like individual reviews, and like individual reviews is one person and their opinion. That's fine. Like, every person has an opinion. You know, someone's going to praise it and someone's going to say it's trash. Like, that's fine. That's one person's opinion. Doesn't fuss us, you know. Consistently hearing similar things was really like, wow. I think like we knew Hestia, like the newest release, kind of had to be like pretty important. Like, it had to be pretty solid. There was like the change, I guess, between the band in regards to frontman and introducing Mike and whatnot and carrying on. Was there a bit of uncertainty, like older fans, newer fans and whatnot? But the second we started hearing the new songs, started working on them, started like pre-production, we're like, right, this isn't going to like upset anyone really. This is just going to blow some minds a bit. Like, this is really going to impress people. So we were really excited. We kind of had it. We were just like, we just want to show it to you. Like, oh, but is it going to be like before? And you're like, look, you know, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just going to do it really good. Like, we're just going to, you know, do this like solid and, you know, give you guys the best album we could. Like, we had so many songs, whether they were like a verse and a chorus or a riff and whatnot, we had to whittle them down to what we gave. And like, we put 15 songs on the vinyl and 14 on the CD, which also went digital too. So we had to actually cut it down to 15 songs. That's why it was at a double vinyl, just because we worked our butts off for it, you know, like we really did. And we're just like, right, well, we've always given our best, so we now got to give better. And I think, that's what we tried to do with Hestia. And I think it came across our reviews and what the feedback we got was really positive and what people said. So we're very humbled by it. It's been amazing.
I think it definitely came through. At least again from my opinion. So you guys, I follow you on Instagram, and I recently saw a post that you guys signed with Atomic Music Group, and for American fans to be put on notice, huh?
Yeah. Look, it's one of those lame internet things where you can and can't tell people whatever, but so we signed with Atomic, which was really, really cool. Their roster and the guys are working with like really work with some super cool bands, and when we got that lined up, we were over the moon. In regards to like the States and Canada and South America, we're very aware, like, so whoever's watching from there, we know how much love you've given us. Like, whether it's a click or a stream or a download or a purchase, we see it and we feel really bad that we haven't repaid our dues to you giving us this kind of support. So we've been trying for many years, but finally through Atomic and getting this sorted, Mike joining the States in general, like I said, Canada, America, South America, is really happening now. So without saying things I'm not allowed to say, it's definitely happening. So, and then as the world gets a bit back more to sanity and live music and things happening again, it'll all come out again. But we have been absolutely dying to get over and do proper tours of the States, and it's really looking like that's happening. So we're over the moon. We're absolutely over the moon. We love Europe, but we really want to get to the States. So yeah, we'll be there soon.
We're excited to have you over here.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
It's happening.
I mean, you guys just announced though a slew of dates, right? I saw that. So
also, yeah.
And that was postponed. A lot of that from.
Yeah, a lot of that was postponed. Yeah, so I think some of them were actually double postponed. You know, like a lot of bands did as well too. But look, we feel confident with this one. That's I think the tail of October to the middle of December. So we're feeling really confident with it. We're meeting up in a few more weeks again in Italy to start a few more interesting things for us to do. That it doesn't involve touring. I would like to think by October things are looking much better as it already is. But yes, so that's a lot of postponed gigs, which I think missed out some gigs, some cities, but it was the best we could do after like a pretty crazy 18 months, as you know, with every band around the world basically having to do the same thing. But that's what we put together. That's what's coming up, and there's a few more little announcements coming to that as well too. So there'll be a few more little cities and towns and little surprises there as well. So yeah.
And then I also saw, I know it was even before this interview was scheduled, when the Hellfest schedule came out. You guys are on there, huh?
Yeah, that lineup is like, which band is not on that? Every band. It's wild. Yeah.
It almost looks like one of those, like, every year when the festival ones come out, people put out, like, fake ones.
Yeah.
It's so...
Your dream lineup or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, it's so huge that you're like I had to double check. I was like, this is like a real... Like a real
festival,
lineup, yeah. So that's awesome.
As well, that festival, look, European festivals, and this is me being probably a bit out of the loop because we've not done that many American or South American or whatnot festivals. Some European festivals nail it, and Hellfest absolutely nails it every time. We played it a few years ago. And Dropkick Murphys won it as well too, and a whole bunch of incredible bands. And it was the first gig we ever played where like you had breakfast and then you played a gig. Like we were on at like 12:30 or something, and there was like 20,000 people there. It was wild. Like at the Warzone stage, when they've got multiple stages, but just their setup in general, they like from the backstage to the check-in to the two main stages where they have monster bands, like absolute like top of the pile bands. Metallica here, then they finish, and 3 minutes later, there's like Guns N' Roses beside them. It's flawless. Like it's an incredible festival. So being able to go back again with knowing, like the first one, you kind of like, what is this? Like, this is just wild. Knowing what we're going back to, I can't wait. It'll be so good. It'll be so much fun. So.
And I think coming off of the last year and a half that we've had, I don't know how things are opening up over there yet, but we're I'm a concert promoter as well, so I've had my first couple events rolling out here, and my anything I'm booking, like I'm exceeding expectations by 25-30%. Like people are just so hungry to get out there again that like I can't even imagine at a European festival, because I mean I've never been, but I've been to pretty much all the American ones, and everybody I talk to that's done both says like it's just another level over there to begin with.
But I think now as well too, like you said, people are hungry, man. Bands are hungry and people are hungry. Maybe if you want to try and find some positives out of this, mess that's been going on this last year and a bit, maybe it's kind of reset people, and like that, as in reset people in bands, reset people like who are music lovers and live music supporters and whatnot as well too. But I think there's this keenness of bands and there's the keenness of like supporters that just want to go and see live music again. Instead of going, oh, it's Wednesday night, maybe I won't go. So I'll buy the ticket. I'll buy it. I might have said that 2 years ago, but I'm not saying it now. Maybe taking things for granted in a subtle way, like, what I'm just saying, like, people didn't expect that disruption in their lives, and it happened. So I don't know. Bands are keen to play. People are keen to see music now. So I think we have a pretty exciting, few years ahead. I do, and I'd like to believe other bands have been sitting back recording and writing music, and there's going to be some seriously good music coming out. I hope there is, because there's been time, been time for people to sit around with their instruments and write music. So we'll see. We've been doing it. We'll see how we go. But it's looking forward. I think it's exciting. There's some good stuff coming up.
Well, hey, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. And I tell everybody, you're always welcome back. So if there's anything you ever want to talk about again, we'd love to have you back. Anybody listening, if you made it this far, hit that subscribe button, give this a like, drop a comment down below. And I just want to say thanks again, John.
Always welcome, man. Thanks so much. So give us a call again another time when we make a few announcements, all right? And we'll talk more about that kind of stuff, all right?
Sounds great.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Cheers. Take care. Thanks for having me.